your seatbelt. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell at before you blow up a plane.
Basha K. Ali!
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what good thing to say? I dabbled in stand-up or something. I haven't even disrespected you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt. I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean.
Oh, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We're all over the place. iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, Rumble, Rockfin, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, even for some reason. Sometimes they kick me off, put me in a timeout. Sometimes they'll have me, which is good because Facebook is essential for seeing how fat the people you went to high school have become. Before I bring on my fabulous guest, please remember to like and subscribe. Please subscribe to me on YouTube. I think I'm at 99.2. Getting very close to 100K. Can't wait for that silver play button. Oh, baby. Gonna put it right here, or maybe right here, or maybe right there. Or maybe I'll just hold it on my lap every time. Maybe I'll put it in the crib next to the baby. Cool. I love this girl already because I asked her how I should introduce her, and she was like, I'm kind of a pain in the ass on social media. I was like, ooh, I think we're gonna have a lot in common. She's a wife, mother, activist. She's referred to as the Canna Mama because she's done a lot of work in the cannabis community with maternal medicinal consumption. So that's very cool. I want to hear about that for sure. And she lives in Colorado, so we're going to hear about that, all the craziness over there. A fellow blue stater. Welcome to the show, Jeanna Hoch.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me on.
I'm so happy you're here. I feel a kinship with other people who live in blue states because I'm in New York, and it was a really amazing. I don't know if you experienced this at all, but I got up yesterday, like strolled the baby to the Dunkin' Donuts and just walked around, said hi. Everyone was happy and friendly. Everyone had a pep in their step. And I was like, I don't even recognize this. I was like, wow, I can't believe I'm in New York. And then you just start seeing all the maps of all the red counties, and you're like, oh yeah, we're the majority. And I just want to know what your experience has been because you're in Colorado there. And I also wanted to know, do you live near where any of the Venezuelan gangs took over the apartment buildings?
Okay, yeah, I don't live too far away from Aurora. I'm about 15-20 minutes from that line. I'm not sure where the apartment buildings are. I haven't really looked into how close I am to that. I live in a little bit safer area. But it's been snowing here, so I haven't really got out of the house. I've been kind of, a hobbit, just hanging out, staying warm. So
that's good.
I don't know really what
it was in the 70s here in New York yesterday. So
yeah, we just got dumped on. It's great.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you don't live near there, and your home is not in danger of being taken over.
I mean, it's weird though, because I'm not too far away from, I don't know if you saw in the news where the bigger homes that are by the golf courses and stuff, they're getting broken into by the gangs. So it's a little bit of a different problem. So they are just moving out of Denver, moving away from, of course, the bad areas, and they're starting to do robberies in a little bit nicer areas, moving into Lakewood, Jeffco, Golden. So
okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, homes in my area are getting broken into by random illegals, so it's definitely scary. It's been fun to watch, and I'm sure you've been enjoying the medley of liberal tears, and I know there's been so many people making reaction videos to the reactions, and it seems as though the cloud of propaganda is really kind of thinning out, and a lot of people are, and by a lot of people I mean, and it's just tricky because I wonder if like the people who work for the legacy media, they just they're just doing it for a paycheck, or if they truly do believe the things that they're being paid to say. But I
I
think
think they believe it. I think it's both, of course. You know, even if they have a come to moment or come to Jesus moment, they don't want to give up the money. But I
no,
think for the most part, it as in the MSM has been completely infiltrated by mostly leftists.
yeah, oh for sure.
Yeah.
And to all the regular people that are kind of just waking up, like they can't understand. I want to play this clip because this I was so on the fence. I had a hard time being optimistic because we all watched what happened in 2020, and it's just I feel like it prevented me from becoming optimistic about any election ever again. And then I see clips like this. I believe Matt Walsh tweeted this out. We're gonna watch this woman, and because I think she perfectly kind of encapsulates why so many women on the left were so sure that this election was just gonna come down to reproductive rights, and by that I mean, the ability to get an abortion willy-nilly.
We're closing in on almost 5 p.m. Eastern time, and I've been tracking everything that's been going on across the country today. And my most important encounter was when I went out to get my champagne. I was talking to the guy in the store, of course, asking him, did he vote? And he said he did early voting, and he asked me if I early voted. And he's asked me, why I was getting the champagne. And I said, because I'm going to be toasting Madam President tonight. And he just looked at me with kind of like a smirk on his face. And I said, she's going to win this, right? And he says, oh, well, it's very, very close. And I said, no, it's not. He says, well, what do you mean? I said, no, it's not. The women of America are making their voices heard. Reproductive rights is what it all comes down to. And the women are voting in numbers relative to men that are unbelievable. She's won this. And I said to him, she's going to take every one of the swing states plus Iowa. And he said, oh, but the numbers are so close. I said, I'm a political analyst. I'm telling you right now, numbers are there. She's taking this election. And then I said to him, you realize, and he didn't tell me who he voted for, but of course I knew. And I said, you do realize you wasted your vote, right? And I didn't care. And I walked out with my bottle of champagne and happily walked home. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I hate these people. No, I don't hate them. I don't hate is too strong of a word, but the
I wish
arrogance,
you
like
would update.
I didn't have this much confidence, despite hearing really positive things for the days leading up to the election. And it's this arrogance of the left that all women are the same, that of course we would all vote to have our I call it Ho versus Wade. The ability to just abortion is not the most important thing to
No.
everyone, certainly not women. And you've done some work in the area of like kind of helping moms, and you've worked with the like maternal medicinal consumption for
Yep.
marijuana, and you're a mom yourself. So I feel like you would be a good person to kind of and you live in a blue state. So I
Yeah.
wonder what are your like what brought liberal women to this place of being so arrogant? Is it just propaganda, or and you look at this woman and it's like she's what, 60 years
Too
old?
old to be worried about abortion, she looks like, but I don't know. I don't wanna be that mean,
Exactly. I don't
but
understand
yeah.
how these women like, I get it if you're an idiot 25-year-old, or if you're right out of college. Even in some big cities, okay, if you're in your 30s, you're still in your, like, Samantha, Sex and the City phase,
In
I
your
get
whole
it.
phase.
You're in
Yeah,
your hoe phase, I get it. You're,
yeah,
like, permanently stuck there. But women like this, I don't understand the
yeah.
arrogance.
She wants to be relevant, but she's in a bubble of her own importance, right? So a lot of these women don't actually talk to anybody that are in the rural neighborhoods, the urban neighborhoods, that aren't white as much as they like to be the white saviors. I don't believe, and I just keep looking at her and I'm like, You do not have a lot of young Black friends, probably. You don't know,
Hmm.
right? So I think that they just believed the propaganda that they were being fed. I know personally, I have been trying to convince liberal women because my base was liberal women, progressives, almost like 99% with being cannabis consuming moms and the abortion stuff and just breastfeeding awareness. A lot of my work was definitely on the more progressive side. I identified as a progressive and voted blue up until 2019. So when I switched, I tried to explain to them that abortion wasn't going to be the most important matter anymore, and that we were actually going to lose abortion access. And I was right, by continuing to vote Democrat.
Wow. What happened for you in 2019 that changed you from being a Democrat?
Um, I think the biggest influence was uh, the Denver Public Schools school board campaign, and everybody elected 19, I think maybe he turned 20 years old, Tay Anderson. So he was like one of the youngest elected people in the not United States, in the Colorado, maybe in the United States, I guess, probably. Um, but he was really awful to my family, to me, told us to get out of Denver. He pretty much hates me as far as my activism against transgenderism and informing everybody that like transgenderism harms society. And I could write an entire thesis about why. Other people have written books, so please read them. But yeah, so he started like a personal campaign, posted pictures of my kids to his
Whoa.
social media. Yeah, it was really bad.
But this
And I
wasn't even
also,
somebody you were running against, like,
no,
for an
I wasn't.
office.
No, he just did not like me as a parent. He actually targeted a few moms. So he was effective though at silencing parents, and he did run his entire 4 years, and he is no longer a school board member. But
So
that's
this
what
was
pretty
somebody
much turned me out.
on the school board where your kids also went to school?
Yeah, my oldest was a student at Denver Public Schools. He's graduated now though.
Okay.
And so
Wow.
he and Senadora Julie Gonzalez, so she is a Democrat here in Denver. Um, and I say Senadora because that's how she calls herself. She's a senator. And and
Senator
she,
makes you think of, like, Matador.
yeah, it's silly, but she's very like La Raza, that's her thing. Which is fine. But that's who she is. And she and Tay Anderson both during that campaign season both told me that they did not want my vote. So I
Wow.
said, "Now you can't have it." And I, went the other way and, um, was part of the walkaway movement, I guess, because it was about that same time.
Great. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I first met those guys, I guess it was probably around 2019 too, when I started to see them popping up at the Trump rallies and met Brandon Strzok and,
Oh,
Mike
okay.
Harlow and all those guys. Yeah, oh, that's really interesting. So how is it like, uh, did you feel after 2019 you had to kind of keep your mouth shut about certain issues or be ostracized by friends and other
Uh,
moms in the area?
no, because I had already been ostracized. I've been ostracized from the transgender issue for a really long time. So I started speaking publicly about that in 2014, and it was really bad for my business. My Facebook page got nuked not too long after that, and I had 20,000 organic followers in a year, so that was pretty devastating for me as a small business owner. And just trying at that time, my business was less important as trying to get the word out about medicinal cannabis use for moms. So that was pretty devastating.
What did do you remember what they ended up nuking your page over specifically?
They told me it was about, excuse me, cannabis, but it was all the transgender activists that were reporting my page. So you know how it is,
Mhm.
like when they mass report you. And it was right after I had angered them saying something. And it wasn't the first time that they had attacked my page. And then it was not the last. Like they've been attacking me almost a decade. So, um,
Well, that's
and
insane.
yeah, I was gonna say also in person, physically, not just my page. I've been doxxed, so it's been a long 10 years. So no, to answer your question, I wasn't prepared to just go quietly away in about 2020 because I'm used to it. Like I said, I'm the pain in the ass.
Well, we need the pains in the asses because I'm sure you've seen this. Trump just announced basically a zero tolerance for grooming and transing kids, and he just released this statement.
Here's my plan to stop the
Mm.
chemical, physical, and emotional mutilation of our youth. On day one, I will revoke Joe Biden's cruel policies on so-called gender-affirming care. Ridiculous. A process that includes giving kids puberty blockers, mutating their physical appearance, and ultimately performing surgery on minor children. Can you believe this? I will sign a new executive order instructing every federal agency to cease all programs that promote the concept of sex and gender transition at any age. I will then ask Congress to permanently stop federal taxpayer dollars from being used to promote or pay for these procedures and pass a law prohibiting child sexual mutilation in all 50 states. It'll go very quickly. I will declare that any hospital or healthcare provider that participates in the chemical or physical mutilation of minor youth will no longer meet federal health and safety standards for Medicaid and Medicare and will be terminated from the program immediately. Furthermore, I will support the creation of a private right of action for victims to sue doctors who have unforgivably performed these procedures on minor children. The Department of Justice will investigate Big Pharma and the big hospital networks to determine whether they have deliberately covered up horrific long-term side effects of sex transitions in order to get rich at the expense of vulnerable patients, in this case, very vulnerable. We will also investigate whether Big Pharma or others have illegally marketed hormones and puberty blockers, which are in no way licensed or approved for this use. My Department of Education will inform states and school districts that if any teacher or school official suggests to a child that they could be trapped in the wrong body,
Wow.
they will be faced with severe consequences, including potential civil rights violations for
That's
sex
awesome.
discrimination.
Woo!
Yep, that's
He's
awesome.
just hitting the ground running. I've
Yeah.
heard that Trump has had conversations with world leaders already. And you know what? Why not? Why not just begin your presidency from
Yeah.
Mar-a-Lago? Why not? I'm sure he has many of the same contacts from years ago. So
Yeah, I love it. I don't wanna see him out in public at all for a while, and I
no.
don't wanna see him anywhere near JD Vance, so he can just stay in hiding and do the work on the phone, on Zoom, whatever.
Yeah, you're right, and that's a concern a lot of us have is, like, just, okay, stay safe until I mean,
Yeah,
stay
totally.
safe for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Please, like, God watch over them, but,
Let him have a long,
they
natural
must
life.
they must know that they're likely to pull some shenanigans between now and, January 20th.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we all, I think, expect it, and even what was going on last night and the marches in different cities, like, go home. Go
Mhm.
spend some time with your children. I don't know if you have
Yeah,
any. They probably
and
don't.
it's interesting, like, we see how tight him and Elon have become, and Elon's, I think, eldest son was lost to the trans cult, and you
Right.
wonder and I think this is something Trump has been passionate about for a while, but you wonder, like, what exactly, you know, do you think maybe Elon probably motivated him a little bit more, or maybe they probably just share the same opinions, and, I just wonder the effect of Elon, obviously other than his millions of dollars, but what the effect he's having.
I think so, but I would have liked to have seen President Trump do more in his first term for sure. There were some things that slid through that I was really disappointed about. Um, I don't I don't like seeing the Republicans cozy up to Caitlyn Jenner.
Hmm.
Exactly. I will not refer to him as a woman in any way, shape, or form. So I do have my concerns, but I think that Megyn Kelly has been a huge influence on getting the word about transgenderism out into into public mainstream media. Obviously, Tucker Carlson, but Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro. We've got plenty of people, big players now talking about it regularly. Some of them already were, obviously, but I really think Megyn Kelly latching onto this issue over the last year or so has been a game changer.
I can't remember if she had somebody close to her that kind of went through this, or she's just raising awareness. But yeah, Megyn Kelly is great,
I
and
don't remember.
her show has really blown up the last few years. She does
I think
incredible numbers on YouTube.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, but I think that she was pretty enraged just about, the Riley Gaines situation and girls being subjected to men in their locker rooms. Like that is just a whole another level, right? We're talking about sexual assault.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
voyeurism, but it used to be peeping toms and things of that nature. Again, Republicans keep harping on this idea of common sense because this is one of them. This is one of the things that is basic common sense. Why would women? That's the whole point of why we have private locker rooms away from men. And then we're like, oh, well, if you're a man that just says that you're a woman, you just walk right in. You don't have to say anything. You can have 5 o'clock shadow, big balls. It doesn't matter. You're just allowed right in. So it's been a problem. I think that might have been the turning point for her. I don't remember her having a personal story, but as far as Elon's personal story, um, you know, I did tweet about this, and imagine what you would do if you're the richest man on the planet and your eldest son got brainwashed. So I think that we're seeing a bit of Elon's vengeance once he woke up.
Yeah, because you think, wow, I'm the richest guy, one of the richest, probably, yeah, without a doubt, the richest guy in the world, very smart, have all the resources one could possibly need, and it's like this, your boy like slipped through your fingers, and
Right.
it's really heartbreaking. And like, yeah, he does have
Yeah,
like
right. Even
possibly too many kids to keep track of, but he
that might be true.
he he's gone on record saying, yeah, he was basically kind of pressured during the pandemic, and he really thought it was
Mhm.
before he knew much about it. He really thought it was about healthcare. He really thought like this was the only path for his son, and he had to
Yeah,
sign off on it, and you can tell he deeply regrets it.
right. And if they can get to Elon's kid, they can get to any of our kids. That's the really scary thing.
Yeah, and they have. What's up, push-ups? Push-ups in the chat. Gina, do you have any left-wing beliefs left? What's Kara Dansky like in real life? I'm one of the few people that bought her great book. Who's Kara Dansky?
Oh, that's a really interesting question to be asked live. Kara Dansky does not like me. Kara Dansky is obviously brilliant and she gives great speeches, but I'm not one of her favorite people.
Who is she? Let me look it up.
Excuse me. She's a attorney from DC, and
Oh.
she's one of the big American TERFs. And
Oh.
I think she still represents herself as a Democrat.
How did the two of you, start interacting?
Through our work, she's actually given a speech with me before to the Denver Republican Women Group. So we've definitely worked together. I've traveled to New York City and given speeches with her and other women, and she organized a action in Washington D.C. Actually, I want to say it was right after inauguration when President Biden did sign the executive orders about transgenderism that President Trump was just speaking about. We stood on the side of the road with our big signs, and when the motorcade went by, we did our thing. There were a lot of us, probably 25, 30 women showed up to Washington, D.C. from all over the United States, and maybe even a couple other countries. But yeah, so we've been trying to stay visible for years. And I think our best action was the one in Atlanta against the NCAA when they had Leah Thomas race.
Oh gosh, wow, yeah. And, the other part of this question, do you have any left-wing beliefs left?
Yeah, I do. I mean, abortion. I'm pretty pro-abortion, so I know a lot of Republicans still chew me out about it and hate that, call me baby killer, and I'm a ghoul, I'm a demon, and all of this stuff. So, but I can pretty much talk about that at any time. I've been um, an activist for abortion and access for women since 2017.
Okay.
That's
Do
probably my most leftist opinion. I
yeah.
don't and obviously cannabis, a lot of people on the right side still don't think that cannabis should be federally legal, and I do.
What makes you so passionate about abortion rights?
I guess the end game, I wrote a blog post, I don't know, maybe like 2019 or 2020. I don't remember what year it was, but I think it's called the Pro-Birth Utopia. And in my mind, the final outcome to me is state power over women who would rather not give birth. And so the only way to do that, women aren't going to just not have abortions. It's never actually going to happen. I've talked to thousands of women about abortion. I've helped women get to Colorado. I've helped raise money for abortion. So I actually can speak to it from not only a statistical and a political science point of view, but from just experience of being with these women. And, they're not going to stop. They're not going to just stop having abortions. So we have to realize that the final outcome of an abolishment position or abolishment policy is state force. And it's absolutely atrocious to me. So while you're looking at the evil of killing babies, there's also the evil of what I consider female enslavement. So that, I know it's a pretty
How is it female enslavement if you're the one making the choice to have sex?
because we know how to abort. So I get the position. I've had these conversations. I was on Zuby. So Zuby and I had a couple-hour conversation about abortion rights to where it's just like we still came to the impasse, and 5 years later we're still at the impasse. So I do understand all the arguments as far as have more responsible sex, and I do believe that from a pro-abortion perspective, ultimately I would like to teach women how to control their fertility cycle. So
Yeah.
I'm qualified to teach the fertility and awareness method. I could talk about birth control all day long. I think that women being responsible and also not sleeping with so many men, not even from like a you're a whore perspective, but these men just don't deserve access to these women, and women are giving men way too much access, and it's really
True.
destroying our society from um, you know, they could just do better with their choices, right? If we're
Yes.
having we're giving less scummy guys access to our bodies, there's gonna be less abortions, obviously. But to answer your question, once someone's pregnant, how they got pregnant, whether it was responsible, whether they did everything to try not to get pregnant is kind of irrelevant to me. It's whether or not they want to remain pregnant. And then I've also almost died twice giving birth. So it's like I have a lot of different facets to my belief system as far as why I believe the way I do. Um, so
When you say you almost died giving birth, is that because you wanted to have an abortion or
oh
just
no, 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 no. I wanted those babies. So those are my daughters. They just came out of me like bats out of hell, and I hemorrhaged after. And yeah, I had to my last one was actually even more serious than the first hemorrhage, but they couldn't get the bleeding to stop, had to put me back upstairs, do some pretty nasty maneuvers, I
Oh,
would
no.
say, to my nether regions. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and so I just know, like, and I've had, lifelong, traumas, not lifelong, but since I gave birth at 23. So my son's entire life, I've had problems with my hips, I've had pelvic region problems. So it's just like, we know that pregnancy is really hard on women, obviously, the risk to harm, the risk to death. So I just can't, in good conscience and for my own personal morality, tell a woman that she just has to do it because she had sex.
Have you ever had one?
Yeah, I had an abortion in like 2007
So that was, like, before you had your kids or
after my son and before my oldest daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense if you are, if you've actually experienced it. Do you, I don't know, do you ever, like, have regrets about it or
It's a funny thing to, well, not funny like haha, but I guess weird. It's a weird thing to consider. It's not comfortable for me. For other women, they don't care. I've spoken to women all along the spectrum who completely regret it, who were relieved, who have some regrets, and I guess I'm kind of in the middle. I wish I didn't have to do it. I wish, I think about that child and I wish I could have had more children. I If I could go back now, I wouldn't have done it. If I knew then how my life was gonna turn out now, I wouldn't have done it, but also, if I didn't do it, I don't know if my life would be what it is now. So, I don't know if I'd have my daughters or be married, and it's it's difficult.
Were you okay, were you not married when you had the abortion?
No, but I was
Okay.
with my husband. I was
Oh,
with my
wow.
husband, yeah.
Oh, man, okay.
Yeah, so it's tough, like I
Yeah.
say, I'm fine with talking about it, and I've seen your posts, like, I know you're against abortion and you're pretty hardcore about it, and that's fine. Um,
But I didn't always used to be,
mhm,
like, when I was much younger, in my 20s, like, before I even found a guy that I wanted to be with for the rest of my life, like, I was very all about it, and then I just got older, and I just began to value life more, and,
mhm,
um,
yeah,
just I
I'm
think seeing the first ultrasound is another really powerful moment too.
totally. I think, I think part of pro-abortion mentality really needs to be more focused on the fact that abortion's not it's not good for your health, right? Even if you wanna say it's health care, it's not good for women, and our best bet, our best option, our best choice is always going to be to prevent needing an abortion. And
Right.
I think that that's something the right and the left can agree on. And if we really want to prevent abortions and lower abortion rates, which I do, I think that teaching girls to respect their bodies, and that doesn't mean that having sex is disrespectful per se. I think just being really choosy. That's how I'm gonna teach
Mhm.
my daughters, like, "You're precious. What you have is valuable, and if you get pregnant, you can be hurt," right? Abortion can
Yeah.
go wrong, pregnancy can go wrong, being a mother has its challenges, no matter how much you love it. I absolutely love being a mother, it's the only thing I ever really wanted to be. Um, so I think moving policy towards a positive, conversation about abortion and how women can take control of our fertility is going to be the best for both parties.
Absolutely. I think in middle school, as part of sex ed, you should be taught about your cycle. Like
Yeah,
women only really can get pregnant something like 3 or 4 days out of their whole cycle. So,
yeah,
which is the opposite of what we're taught. Like we're just walking around like you're a match and anything can strike it and you can get pregnant at any time. That's really not the
right.
case. And
Yeah,
like I know you said earlier, like you're not going to stop people wanting abortions, which is true, but I think it gets deeper. You got to talk to women much earlier in their lives before
yes,
they're making those decisions because my parents never had that. First of all, they never gave me the talk. They never made me feel like you're really valuable in that way, and you shouldn't just be like banging whoever.
yeah.
It's part of a woman's nature to people please, and if you're insecure, like a lot of girls are growing up,
Sure,
you are gonna forego birth control, condoms, because 'cause you're like, "Oh, I really like this guy, I really want him to like me," and that leads to unprotected sex, and,
sure.
it's sad that a lot of women are not thinking about birth control until they're already pregnant, and uh, it should be extremely rare and only if your life is in danger. So,
Yeah, I
it's,
think that, taking fertilities more seriously is important. I don't I don't think enough people do. I think too much abortion is happening because, women aren't considering themselves to be, in a position to have that kind of control beforehand, and we do. I think that's a conversation the left misses out on a lot. Like, women are not victims. Abortion, while I do believe access is necessary, I don't believe women are victims because we get pregnant. So that's kind of, I don't like that messaging from the left.
That you're the left is putting out there, what, that you're right, because you've made the
Right.
choice to have unprotected sex with this person.
Well, yeah, and you also have women have a lot of control over who we have sex with, when we have sex, the methods that we choose to protect our wombs, all of those things are it should
Yeah.
just be the focus from both parties. That is how we're going to reduce abortion, is by giving girls more control over their fertility, and like that's why it's called the fertility awareness method. But knowing when your egg drops, like that's pretty serious.
Mhm.
And so many women are just going out there willy-nilly, but also teaching the men. I gave my son the fertility awareness method book. So it's by Toni Weschler. I'm gonna go ahead and drop a promo. Sorry. I don't get paid for that. She doesn't know who I am. But the first time I ever saw her book, I was 19 years old, way too old to have been just getting that information. So what you were talking about, not having necessarily gotten the talk. And even though I had gone through sex ed through school and public schooling, they give you how to use a condom type conversations. They don't actually tell you anything much about how to prevent sex from the female perspective of using our cycle as power, which I think
Yeah.
teaching you about the cycle is one thing, but teaching how powerful it is to avoid pregnancy or get pregnant is kind of a different conversation.
I think that's the most important because hormonal birth control is pretty damaging to women,
Totally.
and a lot of them that are on it for years have trouble getting pregnant when they get off of it, and it messes up your whole body chemistry, your personality. I think people don't talk about that enough. And yeah, it's like, okay, great, we know how to put a condom on, but like we know nothing about our cycle. Like teach that to the boys, sure. Like let them deal with that.
Yeah.
Get the bananas out, sure. It's like when I was in college, there was a like I don't know, it wasn't the swim team, it was another sports group. They decided like, "Oh, we're gonna bring like a truckload of sand in and we're gonna fill up the basement and we're gonna make it like a beach, like a sand, like a beach party." And then they got in trouble because they weren't allowed to have sand down there and it was really like impossible to clean out. And then there was just sand in their house for like the whole rest of the year. And like that's kind of like how I feel about choosing to have sex. It's like, well, you knew that this was a potential thing that could happen. Like you damaged your house because of all this sand. And like that's not that we need to like instill fear into girls or boys about sex, but there's
I
there's
mean, I
just not
think
that conversation going on.
being honest that pregnancy can jack your body up is pretty important. Like it's not to instill fear, but it's a realistic fear. My
Yeah, and even before that, like, for sure, like, I can tell my body is different after giving birth, like, my back is real stiff, like, I've
Mhm.
lost so much flexibility, and I don't know if that's from just you haven't been working out for the better part of a year as hard as you would like, or just your bones move in the process of, like, being
Mhm.
pregnant and giving birth. But I think if you want to have a child, you embrace those changes and you deal with the aches and the pains. And like, even if your problems are more serious than just aches and pains, you're like, well, it's worth it. It's literally a labor of love. You look at your kid, you're like, whatever I had to go through to get you is worth it. I don't know if telling girls like, well, your body changes during because you don't have a concept of that. Like
Mhm.
if you want to have a kid, you accept the changes. But if you so it's like then the conversation is like, well, do you want to have a kid? I just don't think we should take like abortion is not even an easy way out. It like deeply affects women. I don't think
Mhm.
there's anyone who's had an abortion that's just completely unaffected by it, that doesn't
I've
wonder
met
what
women
if.
who say they are, and I think I probably have been guilty of that in the past, but as I grew and came to terms really with the reality of the situation and the true feelings that I was probably burying, um, I agree with you. I think that it's not something you're gonna come out of lightly if you have good mental health. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
Because it's I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. I guess unless you've been 100% brainwashed by the left not to view it as any kind of life at all, which
So many of people have been. Yeah.
I just
And
disagree with that. That's why I think some people have a really hard time with me because I'm okay with abortion and access, but also I do view it as life. I know it is contradictory, but I just believe that some people, are more powerful than others, and killing is part of humanity. And I don't like the idea of forcing women to go through birth who like really don't want to do it.
do you think killing, when you say killing is part of humanity, you mean like killing other human beings or like
Yeah, I
animals?
mean self-defense, murder, war, people just, domestic
Do you
violence,
see
human beings.
abortion as self-defense?
Yeah, I do. I think that
Really?
ultimately it is because it can harm women. It as in the baby, the developing fetus, the child, I don't have any problem calling it the child. I know a lot of leftists do, but um it harms your body. Your body can never go back to a pre-pregnant really stage once you've given birth. Like you're
Sure, like maybe you don't look the same, but I don't know the statistics. I wouldn't say that most women are bodies are harmed by pregnancy.
well, I mean even they consider pregnancy like an illness because it makes people so sick. From let's switch a little bit from the cannabis perspective, right? How I got into the cannabis industry was helping women who were sick because of pregnancy. So I actually work with so many women who were um, really poorly, like detrimentally, like could not work, affected by their pregnancies.
Was
So
it mostly first trimester, like with the morning sickness time?
first trimester, women with seizure issues, anxiety issues, depression issues. I have it on my website actually, where you can actually go and click on just an in-house poll that I did, but it was I think one of them was like 800 women, and the other one's like somewhere. I have all the information on there. I haven't looked in a long time, but we just asked the women in our groups like why they did um, choose cannabis while they were pregnant, breastfeeding, and see
Yeah.
kind of like what kind of answers we could get back. And I actually would like to do that again. But anyway, the sidetrack. But
No,
yeah,
I actually really appreciate you, Gina. I appreciate that that we have different opinions and like I don't know everything there is to know about my position. So I think it's a good conversation to have. And like you've
yeah,
been through it, like you've given birth, you've had an abortion, you kind of know personally all sides
yeah.
of it.
I've
And
actually had a lot of miscarriages too. So I my body has been torn up by pregnancy. So and giving birth. So
it's no joke.
I
Childbirth
kind
is
of
no joke. It was the most humbling thing I've ever been through.
yeah.
And it's just being in the every trip to the OBGYN, you're like, "Ugh," it's exciting because you wanna see the baby, but you're also like you're aware of how vulnerable you are, and especially birth, it's like you are putting your hand like, your life kind of in the hands of strangers, like, I
Yeah.
thought everybody that would be in the delivery room would be like, "Oh, these are all the doctors I've been seeing for the last 8 months," or whatever, and it's like, "No, these are all people you're meeting for the first time, and they're seeing everything there is to see. They're watching you throw up. They're dealing with you when you're getting full body chills.
Mhm.
Um,
When you're getting
they're
sassy in my experience, but, yeah,
yeah,
you mentioned vulnerable too. I think that it's a good time to mention that when women are pregnant, we're also most likely to be murdered. So
really?
for yeah. Murder rates shoot through the roof whenever women get pregnant. So, I've actually dealt with women who sought out abortion because of domestic violence
Do you mean,
situations,
like,
but
by their partners? Because like, their partners
mhm.
are upset they got pregnant? Okay.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
domestic violence, and they're more like you said, they're more vulnerable. You can't fight back, you can't run, maybe don't have anywhere to go. You're kind of more stuck because of your appointments and lack of resources because of maybe you took more time off work, and so you
Yeah.
don't have as
It's
many funds. So it just gets really complicated for women whenever they're pregnant.
Yeah, the more I talk about it, the more like, yeah, it does make sense to like lock down a partner to do it with because for all of these reasons. Like I think that the c- and that's the thing is like I don't know if everyone is cut out or wants to be married, but it's like I think if you want to have that's why these conversations need to start so much earlier
Mhm.
with girls, like you need to know the power you have. You need to not just have sex with whoever because you're feeling insecure because you want someone to like you.
Or
You
horny, like, from my
right.
perspective, like, I have a high sex drive, like, I've made a lot of bad choices just from, I guess, lust, let's put it that way,
Mhm.
you know? I'll be the slut in the room and just say, "Hey, I've made slutty choices." I agree with you. I could have made a lot of better choices, and they would have been better for my health, better for my body, better for, society.
Yeah, and I think
But
it's like if you are like a horny person, you wanna like you're like, "Yeah, I wanna just like bang whoever." It's like, you better damn
totally.
make sure your birth control is figured out, whether it's hormonal or I mean, I think if you're at that level of like, you really want it to be part of your pastime, like, you should not just rely on cycle tracking, you need to also be on, either
Yeah,
the pill, the patch, whatever. I mean, even though
something.
the hormonal forms are kind of dangerous to you, but it's like that's the choice you wanna make. You're like, I
Totally.
wanna have sex, like, all the time with whoever, then get your IUD, get all that stuff lined up.
Mhm.
So, oh, it's interesting. We got it from Magnum Norris. Why are we allowing institutions to mutilate children? Because of the money they make.
Yeah, follow the money. Yeah. Jennifer Bilek, she does a lot of the and I'm so sorry if I just pronounced her last name and wrong. I know she really hates that. But she does a lot of the follow the money trails, and anybody who wants to really get into that part of it, like, why would we allow this? Like, you have to go all the way back to who's financing it.
Mhm. Yep.
People
It's as
people are
simple
making a
as that.
ton of money on it.
Yeah, and these kids become, big pharma customers for life,
Life.
and they're not guinea pigs, and, it's so expensive, and the kids' parents are basically, like, held hostage by, therapists, teachers, whoever, doctors, counselors,
CPS. They can
CPS.
actually remove children now in certain states if you do
Yep.
not affirm, so that's probably the biggest threat.
Is that the case in Colorado? I know it is in California.
So I know Colorado just passed an interesting law, not allowing foster parents to foster unless they're willing to affirm, and I think that's going to court because of course, Christian and Catholic foster parents are like that excludes us from being able to foster, so it's a discrimination issue. But yeah,
Yep.
I would imagine Colorado is definitely one of the places that CPS will step in if you, don't affirm your child.
Yeah, probably New York is too. It's
Yeah.
wild. It's like, isn't that the job of being a parent is to be able to make decisions and know what's best for them? Push-ups is back. I didn't know you guys didn't get along anymore. Sorry.
It's all good.
Push-ups is
It's
not here to
alright.
start drama. He's very well-mannered. Um,
Okay. She does a lot of really important work, and she is not the only person who does not like me, so it's okay.
why do you piss people off, Gina? What?
I say what I think, I guess.
No, it's
Yeah,
good.
she actually got, I think that we clashed our last clash was probably over Republican stuff. I went Republican and there was some pretty heavy disagreements on her page, and I am foul-mouthed, and she did not like that. She banned me, and we haven't spoken since.
That's okay. It's her loss. I wanna know what's the effect of cannabis on breastfeeding?
There's not a lot of research. It's gonna be dependent on who you are talking to. I've given um speeches at the Institute of Cannabis Research, like their conferences. I did that 2 years. I did research with, the institute gosh, I'm sorry, I'm, like, having a little brain fart right now because 'cause it's been so many years. It's Texas Tech, but they
Mhm.
have a specific institute in the, like, research department, and, um, I helped design the actual research guidelines and how we chose the cannabis and then how we got the cannabis. And, when they do a lot of cannabis research, it's different strains. And it's hard to say what the results are if you're using different weed, right? Like,
Yeah, because then you'd have to use different strains of cannabis, right? Like the mom would have to whatever smoke or ingest and then breastfeed. And then how would you test the baby? Like how do
yeah,
you
so what we did was come up with, and all of it also has to be for specific research. It has to be approved through the board, right? So there's going to be a research board that says this is ethical. And we're not conducting, research on women like they're lab rats because we care about pregnant women and their babies. So we had to first sign up women that were already consuming cannabis. You can't pay women to get
No,
high
yeah, to
just to
start.
see what would happen.
They're gonna end up drinking the bong water. It's gonna be awkward. Yeah.
So and then that we wanted to have the same consumption methods. So it had to be people that smoke like a bowl. We don't want, smoking a joint or hitting the bong or dabbing or whatever. So they had to consume cannabis and then within a certain amount of time, pump out breast milk that then the samples were at this interval, this interval, this interval. And then those samples were labeled and sent to Texas to be evaluated to measure the THC in the breast milk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know I gave up caffeine. Like I just do decaf now, which I never thought I'd see the day. I've made fun of people who do decaf. I go, you're not even really living life, are you? And I don't even dream about drinking anymore. I just dream about the days where I can have 2 or 3 cups of regular coffee a day. And I'm probably being overly conservative about it, but I've read a lot about the effects that caffeine has on babies, and they process it something like 60 times slower than adults. And even though a small percentage of the caffeine that you consume makes it into the baby, I'm just I don't want to be up all night with the baby and think, oh, there's a chance this could be me because I had to have my coffee. So
Totally. So the substance that they test in the breast milk is it's not actual THC, right? So it's the I'm sorry, I'm brain farting all over the place over here, but it's it's been a long time since I've even talked about any of this. That's why I said when I first came on the show, you asked me how I wanted to be introduced, and I'm like, I don't know. I haven't done anything in a long time.
aw, you're probably just being
But
humble.
so whenever you do a drug test, it's the byproduct of the drug that is actually picked up on the drug test. And so that's what is coming out in the breast milk. And so we really don't exactly know how high our kids are getting off of cannabis. It's more for me, it's a risk benefit analysis. Why would you want to continue consuming cannabis? Is that going to be worth the small risk that you may have? We don't really there are no such thing as cannabis, like fetal alcohol syndrome. We don't have a
Okay.
fetal cannabis syndrome, or there's not classrooms full of kids that you're like, oh, what happened to you when you were a kid? No, my mom smoked weed. We don't.
Oh,
There's no
that's why you're so
correlation.
relaxed all the time. Okay.
There's no correlation between that. So it is in my business. We just recommended if you could maybe take a little time to let it get out of your breast milk the same way alcohol would or anything like that. But my company, we did a lot of marketing of towards the just getting the awareness out and the normalization of cannamamas. So we have photographs of women consuming cannabis with a baby to the breast. And I would say that the reason why is because ultimately we do not believe that there's any harm to the child. And
Okay.
I just would not promote it at all if I believe that. I think
Right.
it's with anything, like you just said, caffeine, Tylenol,
Yeah,
anxiety
alcohol.
medication. Yeah, alcohol, it doesn't matter. It's down to what the mom thinks is best for her kids and for herself, and it's a medicinal choice, right? So I don't promote recreational use really, except
Yeah.
that I say really because it gets hairy with I believe most cannabis use is medicinal, even if people don't realize it. Like they're choosing cannabis for a reason. It's usually
Yeah,
because
they
they're
want to feel so
depressed
much.
or have anxiety or need to let loose a little bit. And stress is a killer. So
Yeah, for real. And I've known some moms like they'll drink a pint of Guinness before pumping or breastfeeding because it can actually help with, I don't know if it's a
let
letdown
down.
or your
Mhm.
flow. But it's strange because I'm like, I've had maybe 2 or 3 drinks this whole year. And then like,
Yeah.
and it's only one because you have to wait the 2 hours for it to leave your system. So I've never had like more than one drink. And like, I used to drink a lot. So it's been a change. It's a
I love your dedication though. The first time mom, like wanting to do everything perfect. I'm
yeah,
on
that's
kid
me.
3 and she's just hanging on by a thread at this stage. So
Oh, I know. I'm just like, I'm probably just paranoid, but I don't want to
it's good. It's
feel
good.
like I could have done something better. Oh, let's see. This is nice. This is oh, you've been referred to as like like Laura Loomer. This is from
Yeah.
Laura Loomer. Enjoy this picture of Kamala's Harris family crying as she conceded today. Yikes. I don't know why people on the left say that the stepdaughter is hot. I'm not seeing
They
it.
say that?
She looks like a puppet. Well, she's some kind
Come
of
on.
like she's a model and like she's not a model because of her face. She's a model because of her body and
Oh, I didn't know that.
oh, okay. Okay. Cool. I'm rambling here. I have to jump, Gina. I have to go
No
watch the
worries.
baby. Thank you so much for your time. Tell the good people. I would love to have you back. Love to have you on Simcast sometime. Tell people where they can find you and where they can follow you.
You can find me at jeannahoch.com. That's my website. Canamamaclinic.com is my company's website. And you can find me on Twitter at Jeanna Hoch. I'm pretty much Jeanna Hoch everywhere. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere. So thank you.
Thank you so
It
much.
was great to
I
finally
really
meet you.
appreciate the difference of opinion for sure because I don't get to have that with too many people. So
Yeah,
I
I love
appreciate
it.
you, Gina. We'll definitely have you back.
Thanks
Thank you to
for not
everybody.
roasting me.
Oh no, come on.
I
Thanks
was
to
a little
everybody.
nervous. You did great. Thank you.
No. Oh my God, no way. Thank you to everybody in the chat for your comments and questions, and we'll see all you guys.